Welcome to Military Combat Network. In today's video I'm going to react to the American soldier versus the British soldier Army Military Comparison 2021. For those people that are new to the channel, my name is Drakey. I'm a serving soldier in the British Army, currently in my 9th year. So yeah, let's have a look and react to this video because I haven't seen it. I don't know what to expect.
It's 2025, and after a strange shift in geopolitics and world powers, the USA and the UK have found themselves going to war with each other.
Not just that, but the United Kingdom suddenly turned into a tropical island. We've got palm trees, sunshine, and if you look at the weather right now, you wouldn't think so. Let's move on.
Longtime allies that once fought side by side in World War II in Afghanistan have become arch enemies fighting for global dominance. The rest of the world looks on in horror. But who will win?
Well, straight off the bat, you know, the United States has got 50 states. The United Kingdom is a little speckle on the world map. That's all we are, a very small island. You can't really compare a small island with 50 states, you know, the United States of America. You just can't. They're just obviously going to be superior in every way. You know, the economy is bigger, more money, more budget. Obviously, manpower is going to be a lot larger. Obviously, they've got a lot larger, you know, they've got a larger area to defend as well if they come under contact. So, obviously, their military straight off the bat is going to be bigger. So, I've reacted to a lot of military videos in regards to United States Army, United States Marine Corps. And you always get that one idiot in the comment section who likes to put in there, "We'd kick your ass," you know, which is just delusional because they haven't got a clue. They don't take other things in account. They just don't. But anyway, let's carry on watching this video and see what they have to say.
There's one fact that's hard to ignore. One side is larger than the other by a long way. The United States. Based on size alone, the U.S. military is the clear winner. It boasts over 1.4 million personnel, compared with a measly 149,000 in the UK. That might not guarantee success if the whole U.S. Army consists of untrained airheads and idiots, but it doesn't hurt. Especially when...
Okay, one thing obviously they didn't take into account is our veterans. United States is going to have millions of veterans, I'm pretty sure of it, and the United Kingdom is going to have a lot of veterans as well. So I think they should have took that into account when they talked about numbers. Also, these numbers aren't quite right. We've got actually less numbers than that, but irrelevant. Let's carry on.
When you consider the amount the U.S. spends, the American military budget is a huge $740 billion compared with the UK's much smaller $49 billion.
You know, like I said already, 50 states against a small country, you know. The economy of the United States is, I don't know how many times bigger than the United Kingdom's, but a lot bigger. So therefore, they've got more spending money. That's just the fact.
How cute. Money can't buy you everything in life, but it helps to win wars. But to be fair, both countries take their military spending seriously. In terms of GDP, the USA spends 3.4% on the military, and the UK spends around 1.7%. That figure won't help the Brits win a war, but it's something they can nurse their national egos with.
Nurse our national egos with. 1.7% is a quite large budget, and actually I think our recent budget has been a lot bigger than this. Obviously with the way our military is shifting, the British Army is shifting, we're going into a new era, the era of the future soldier, they're calling it. They've just recently announced, obviously, the Challenger 3 tank. We're going to get new fighting vehicles, you know, armoured vehicles, new regiments getting formed and everything, you know. But anyway, enough waffling, but the military is shifting in the United Kingdom.
So far, things aren't looking good for the Brits. They've been outnumbered and outspent. Let's see if they can turn things around with their equipment. As they say, it's not all about the size, it's about how you use it.
Exactly.
Which country has the best weapons, gadgets, and vehicles? If we're talking about quantities, the USA gets an easy win here, as you'd expect. They spend far more on the military overall, so of course, they have more stuff. The UK only has 227 tanks compared to the USA's 8,370. As for armored vehicles, the UK has 4,673 and the USA has 41,000.
Again, that brings me, looking at these numbers, you know, they're not correct.
2,760. Is the UK's lack of resources such a big deal? Experience shows us that yes it is. During the Afghanistan conflict in 2007, the British Army stationed in the south of the country had been finding it increasingly difficult to maintain peace over the last 3 years because of their lack of equipment. Guess who had to sweep in to save them? The Americans. The U.S. Brigadier General Lawrence Nicholson brought in 4,000 Marines with a new approach. Go big, go strong, go fast. The new forces weren't exactly successful in maintaining peace, as anyone familiar with the Kandahar massacre and the Maiwand district murders will know, but they were good at going big and going strong, which could give the US an edge in battle. In Afghanistan, the British used Jackal vehicles, which are designed for maneuverability rather than protecting the person inside. The Americans had MRAPs, or mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles. Although MRAP tanks are classified as light armored vehicles, they weigh a massive 14 to 18 tons and are a lot sturdier than the Jackals, designed to withstand the improvised explosive devices that threatened troops during the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts. They were much more effective at keeping the troops safe from danger than anything the Brits had. However, the US Marines seem to have plenty of admiration for the Brits and what they achieved despite their lack of equipment. So that's something. One American Marine commented, "The biggest thing I noticed was the vehicles they drive. You guys are friggin' gutsy. I wouldn't get shot at in one of those." Does having more flimsy vehicles make the British the weaker side, or just more badass? It depends on which way you look at it. Another difference between the British and US armies is their deployment of women on the front line. We don't want to say women are better or worse in the military than men, because that'd probably start a war in the comments section, so we'll let you decide, but it's definitely worth mentioning. In Afghanistan, the US Marines were shocked to see women wandering around shower blocks wrapped in nothing but a towel, with no cares in the world. The US does have women in the armed forces, but they aren't always allowed to be on the front line or live in close proximity to their male counterparts.
Yeah.
In the UK, on the other...
Okay. It says Army military comparison 2021. Obviously, this video is a lot older than 2021 because for the past 2 years, we've been able to have women in the infantry, armoured corps, in the United Kingdom, and I know from reacting to the United States Marine Corps a couple of years ago that people in the comment section said, yes, women are allowed now to be frontline in the United States as well. Carry on
On the other hand, women are seen as equals. Revolutionary concept. Despite their surprise at the close working and living relationships between women and men in the British Army, the US Marines soon realized these women were professional soldiers they needed to take seriously. But could the initial shock be a trump card up the sleeves of the British? Anyway, time to get on to the important stuff. The real factors that determine the success of a military side. Who can handle the most alcohol? It's a contentious topic. The British are known for drinking more heavily, and they can start at a younger age, but the US soldiers might give them a run for their money. Around 40% of US soldiers indulge in binge drinking. I know what you're thinking. What does this have to do?
It's not just a military thing though, let's face it. You know, people just tend to drink more when in groups of people. That's just a fact. You know, if you're sat there with 5 friends, you're going to have a lot more alcohol than you would if you sat on your own. It's just the way it is. You're having more fun. So it's classed as binge drinking and unhealthy, everything. I call it socialising. Let's carry on.
Do with the power of their militaries. Although drinking is a skill that might be impressive on a wild night out on the town, it's not a positive thing during combat. It's important for soldiers to keep their mental health stable over extended periods of combat. The soldiers might use alcohol as a way of coping with difficult experiences they encounter during the military instead of talking about them. Over half of British servicemen and women drank at a level that could harm their health in 2018, most likely to self-medicate for a mental health condition such as PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. Similarly, alcohol as a coping mechanism is a huge problem among veterans. Wow, things just got dark. Back to a more lighthearted topic. You can't mention the drinking preferences of the British without mentioning their ultimate beverage of choice, tea. In contrast, the US prefers coffee. Does this affect the combat performance of either side? Time to find out.
Okay, that's a load of bollocks as well. Yes, the United Kingdom, Great Britain, we do drink a lot of tea. But that's not really a thing in the military. It really isn't. I've been so many times away with the military and you hardly see anyone drink tea.
out. Many British tanks and armored vehicles are fitted with water-boiling devices. Cube-shaped kettles enable the troops to boil water inside the protection of a tank and drink tea to their heart's content. Maybe that's why the British were willing to sacrifice the sturdiness of their vehicles in Afghanistan. This might seem a bit eccentric, not to mention pointless, but hear us out. During World War II, a large number of fatalities were caused by crew members having to leave the safety of their tanks when they needed a break. There was only one reasonable solution: let them make a brew inside the tank. That way, the troops were less of a target for enemy fire. 10 out of 10 for ingenuity. Who knows, maybe this could be their secret weapon in a future war. There's nothing like a fresh brew to keep an army going. But don't discount the Americans, because they also seem to recognize the importance of a lovely warm beverage. The U.S. Army aims to ensure coffee is always available to its soldiers, whether in ration packs or at garrisons. Sometimes there are shortages, so improvisation comes into play to give the soldiers their daily fix. During the Korean War, some soldiers indulged in sock coffee filtered using a sock. Or, if the worst comes to worst, they just mix instant coffee granules with cold water and down it like a shot of vodka. Lovely. It's worth it to have that caffeine coursing through your veins ready for battle. Clearly, both sides have their vices, but we'll have to give the Brits the edge on this one, based purely on the fact that they're less likely to drop dead from swallowing some questionable feet fungi. In this capitalist world, soldiers aren't just fighting for their national pride or a noble cause. They also want to receive their paycheck at the end of it all. The draft ended in 1973 after the Vietnam War in the USA, making the Army a professional, career-oriented force. In the British Army, the national service officially ended in 1960, and it transformed into a professional army in 1963. So who gets the fattest check? New recruits in the British Army start on a salary of £15,985 a year in training, soon going up to $20,400 when becoming a private. After a few years, if they can reach the rank of sergeant, the salary will go up to £35,853 a year. That's around $46,000. In the U.S. Army, new recruits can expect to earn $24,512 a year as a private first class after initial training. A sergeant earns anything up to $29,610 a year. So we have a clear winner here. Let's hope the Americans don't find out, or they could end up switching sides. Now that would be an interesting war. With so much money, you'd hope the British soldiers would go through a half-decent training program. Let's find out if that's the case. In the UK, most soldiers complete a 14-week common military syllabus, followed by specialist training for different trades and divisions. US soldiers train for slightly less time. They complete a 10-week basic combat training course, then complete more career-oriented training. Overall, both countries offer a similar style of training based on fitness, discipline, and weaponry. It's hard to say that one country is definitively superior here, but there is one key difference: the age of the recruits. A U.S. soldier must be 17 to join the forces with parental consent, or 18 without the consent. Meanwhile, Brits can join at the age of 16 if they have parental consent, making the UK the only NATO country to recruit young people into its military at age 16. It's a controversial policy, considering these recruits must remain in the Army until they're 22, and they can't even vote or drink alcohol until they turn 18. With literal boys among them who might have joined the forces as a rash decision, could British soldiers be flakier and less mature than their US counterparts? Or is their youth just a testament to how tough they are? But this is just the beginning. Average soldiers might make up the bulk of the Army, but what about the guys that are really well trained? We're talking about elite special forces. The British Army has the famous SAS, or Special Air Service. Founded during World War II, it's one of the oldest special forces and has the highest entry requirement of all British forces, with the motto, "Who dares wins." The SAS is respected and feared across the globe in equal measure. It's heavily involved in reconnaissance and counterterrorism, meaning most of their work is below the radar and people like us can't get too nosy about it. However, they do plenty of cool and hardcore stuff, like rescuing hostages. Not to be outdone, the U.S. Army has the highly respected and admired Delta Force, also known as the 1st Special Forces Operation Detachment. Formed in 1977, it's known as one of the most secretive U.S. forces and specializes in counterterrorism and hostage rescue. Sounding familiar yet? Allegedly, the Delta Force was modeled on the British SAS. We want to give the Brits the point.
Like the majority of special forces in the whole entire world are based on the SAS.
Point here for sheer originality, but it's not exactly good news for them if the Americans know the training secrets and operations of their elite forces. That's a rookie error if there ever was one, especially when there are way more US soldiers and they have better equipment. What about the heads of the armies? The US Army serves the government of the USA, making the President of the US Commander-in-Chief. Meanwhile, the British Army serves Her Majesty the Queen as head of the armed forces, who who is also their commander-in-chief. Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth is closely tied to the British military, having been a wife, mother, and even grandmother of individuals serving in the armed forces. During World War II, the Queen, who was then Princess Elizabeth, joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service herself and learned to maintain and drive military vehicles and ambulances. She even achieved the rank of Honorary Junior Commander while doing her part for the war effort. By comparison, the current US President, as of this script's writing, claimed to suffer bone spurs when it was his time to serve his country. Points here for the badass monarch up to her elbow in Greece, fixing combat vehicles and serving her country. Overall, the British and American armies are matched fairly evenly in terms of their training and structure. It doesn't exactly come as a surprise, considering their histories are so closely linked. Realistically, the Americans would likely have the upper hand in any war against the Brits due to sheer manpower and weaponry. But let's hope the two sides can settle their differences over a cup of tea.
Like I already said, guys, I'm really happy that we're brothers in arms. I really am. I'm glad we've got a great relationship between each other. But if you want to, let's say we didn't have great relations and that, what would my opinion be? My opinion is, and I'm a firm believer, that no country will ever invade us. There's no chance on earth. I don't even think that the United States would be able to succeed in invading our country. The last time we've been invaded was in 1066 by the Normans. You can check that up if you don't believe me. That's the last time. Everyone who's tried in the past has received a bloody nose. The last time anyone tried to invade anything what's ours were the Argentinians in the Falklands, and we all know what happened there. Anyway, guys, enough waffling. Leave them in the comment section what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.